Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news, and, well, Two Blokes Chatting. Now, here are the two blokes.
'Cause I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Across the deserts bare, man. I've breathed the mountain air, man. I've travelled, I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. Been to Tullamore, Seymour, Lismore, Mallacoota, Nambour, Roochdore, Kilmore, Marillabah,
Mallacoota.
Lemmerville, Wallaville, Connemara,
Mallacoota.
Strathround, Prosper, Nalladala, Darwin, Gingin, Lilliquin, Muckdilla,
Mallacoota.
Wallamilla, Cumberland,
Mallacoota fits in.
I've been everywhere,
Marimbula?
man. I've been everywhere, man.
Is Marimbula in there, I reckon?
It may well be. I tell you what, though, I'm going to make a commitment to you. At some stage next year, I am going to have someone on from a town that's mentioned in that bit of the song that we have.
I reckon Marimbula was mentioned.
But we're not going to Marimbula, we're going to Mallacoota.
We're in Marimbula right now, my friend.
Yeah, but we're talking to someone from Mallacoota. Rob, who have we got on the telephone today?
We've got Belle Temby. She is from Mallacoota. She's travelling up the coast, and we find her in Marimbula. Belle, good morning and welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show.
Good morning, you two blokes.
Great to have you on board, Belle. You and I have chatted before about your life in Mallacoota, but I thought, you know what? We are building up to the massive crescendo. We've had something in the order of 160 guests on this radio show during the year, and you are the end. You are the one. We have peaked at the end of the year.
Oh, fantastic. I'm a bookend.
You are a bookend.
I've been called worse several times, and lots of them start with B too, incidentally. Thanks for taking some time out of your trip up the highway. I know you've had to pull over to do that for us, and despite the fact you're in Marimbula, we're talking about Mallacoota. We've heard lots of stuff about Mallacoota over the last 2 or 3 years, but how much better it would be to hear from someone who actually lives there. Tell us about Mallacoota.
Well, Mallacoota is an absolutely beautiful town on the wilderness coast of Victoria, far east Gippsland, and just surrounded by beach and also an inlet, which is fantastic. It's very picturesque, and it's a really undeveloped coastal town, which is one of the things that I find very charming about it. It's really a place that you can go. You don't have high-rise buildings on the water or views distracted by large developments. It's just lovely. It's like being kind of stepping back into the 1980s, and I love that feeling.
Rob goes there quite regularly when he goes to his wardrobe. Harsh but fair.
And happy. Hey, Belle, it's an interesting little picture you've painted, because I imagine those like you who have found this little gem of a place and you love it. It's got all those nice things, and you want to go and brag to people how good it is, but then you don't want too many more coming to spoil it. How do you manage selling it without overselling it?
Oh, well, I think that even if we did oversell it, there's only so many properties available there. And so you'd find it hard at any time to get more than maybe 20 people moving to the area at the one time. And, you know, it's not everybody's cup of tea living in one of the most remote areas of Victoria. So we like to sell it for a holiday. We love to have the people that fall in love with the place move there, of course. But I don't think we're ever in danger of having it too populated.
Now, it's had some fairly tough times in the last few years. Most people, if they hear the word Mallacoota, they immediately go to bushfires. We don't want to spend a lot of time dwelling on that, but obviously that's a real low point. How has the town responded in the meantime?
Yeah, well, I think it is a low point, but I think the town has done a really good job of moving forward and living with the aftermath of the fires and continuing to try and make that town as vibrant and welcoming as possible. You know, there's a few people that have moved out, but at the same merit, we've had a lot of people that have moved back in. And some of the ways that we get over the fires together, I guess, is coming together through art and shared understandings. There's lots of great community groups, and I'm also in a little group called the Wilderness Collective, and so we work together we've just opened a workspace in Mallacoota, a co-working space, which is really exciting. So we like to invite lots of other people in to come and, you know, there's this remote work thing that's happening these days, and we like to say, hey, if you've got a month off and you need to work, come and do it with us in Mallacoota and be around some good people that are also in business.
Because am I right in saying, and we won't go into great depths because we can't really promote your business, but you run your own business that was based in Melbourne and now you're able to do that same sort of work up in Mallacoota?
Yeah, that's right. And we reach the eastern coast of Australia, really, for all of our client base, which is awesome. And I think because of things like COVID, people are just happier to meet us online and don't have that need to meet us in person. So we have found it, I guess, a pleasing surprise that we haven't needed to maintain such a deep connection with a big city that we thought we might have before we moved there.
Belle, you've got to have employment in towns. They have a vibrance about them, but people need to be busy and work and earn money. We know that fishing is a big part of what attracts people to the region, but what else goes on in Mallacoota business-wise to keep the locals active?
Yeah, well, I think that's a really good question. It's, I think, like the whole of Australia, it comes down to small business and micro-business enterprises being able to keep people employed and living in the place that they love. And I think there is no shortage of that in Mallacoota, and we have so many tourists that come along every year, which is really awesome for the town. So it means that we get a lot of people coming through. We can open more hospitality venues. People can be employed by those. We've even got a couple of supermarkets, and our town only has 1,000 people in it. But we reach levels of 10,000 during the peak periods. And, you know, so people that come to Mallacoota, a bit like myself, unless they move there, but you fall in love with the place and then you just want to keep coming back. So we find that we have a lot of repeat visitors who, you know, really they become a part of that Mallacoota story with us. And all of that contributes to a great little thriving economy. And we need to keep working on that. I'm not saying, you know, it's brilliant. It's definitely a work in progress and something we want to make sure that we have the next generations taking over business and taking up opportunities and staying in Mallacoota. So that's something that we're always focused on as well.
I think the other thing too, Belle, is people, you know, they go to places and it's, you know, whether it's an Apollo Bay or a Lawn, one of the sort of established tourist spots, or something like Mallacoota, which is, as you say, is a hidden gem, and they pack the caravan and they pack it full of food and cans of soup and, you know, boxes of soft drink and stuff, so that they've got it there, knowing that there is a vibrant town that has a couple of supermarkets now. I would seriously encourage people to go down there with an empty caravan for two reasons. One, you're not got quite as much drag on your car and therefore you're going to save fuel. And secondly, these places desperately need money spent in them during the holiday season, because presumably if you've got two supermarkets for 1,000 people, they don't have huge foot traffic during the year, but when the tourist season is on, that's when they make their money.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. Yeah, please, empty eskies when you come to Mallacoota and fill them up when you get here.
And better still take some back with you.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Do your shop before you go home. Yeah, no, it's so true. We do rely on the people that love our town and that visit our town to actually spend some money in our town so that we can keep that place operating and giving the best experience we can to people who visit. Absolutely.
The interesting makeup of a small town, and we have them here on the surf coast, a town like Anglesea. It's got a natural population of about that 1,000 mark that you talk about, maybe a few more. But
yeah,
the vibrance of the town is required to be, you know, funded by people visiting. But in behind it, you've already mentioned it, the community remains strong, close together and working together, supporting each other during the periods where the tourists aren't there. Do you find that about Mallacoota, that you really are a close-knit group?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think you have to be. Like when you're pushed so far, even if people have differences, I think we still all have the best in mind for our people. So I think that we definitely work together in a really good way. I've lived in other small communities as well, or smaller communities, and I have found that Mallacoota works really well together. And I think that we try and promote things like made in Mallacoota, so, you know, makers groups and micro businesses getting out there and promoting to the town themselves, you know, get behind these businesses and try and stay in town and do your shopping, even though you could go an hour and a half up the road and maybe get it a bit cheaper at one of the mega supermarkets. But yeah, it's all a part of the town message, is how do we keep as much business in town as we can, and also of course promote it to everyone that comes. and visit.
Well, Belle, the only exception to that rule is you can stop off in Bairnsdale. There's a bakery that does amazing curried scallop pies, but that's the only thing you're allowed to buy on the way through.
Great, yeah.
Belle,
Surely, Gippsland.
thanks for taking time out of your break to talk to us on the Two Blokes Chatting. All the very best to you for Christmas and for the new year, and we look forward to keeping in touch.
Yeah, thanks so much, and thanks for having us on the radio and letting us get the word out about Mallacoota, and an open invite to anybody to come down.
We'll be down.
Yes.
Thanks, Belle. All the very best.
All right.
Thanks, Belle.
Thanks. Bye.
Belle Temby there from Mallacoota.